Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha Saigal. On the show today, despite global calls for restraint, Israel targeted the Lebanese capital of Beirut and struck Hezbollah's headquarters, killing at least 6 people. The target of the attack on Beirut was Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah. Iran has said that Israel has crossed all red lines with this latest attack. The question being, what does this mean for escalating tensions in West Asia? We will be tracking that on the show today. But first, a quick check on the headlines. Fresh wave of air raids hit Beirut's southern suburbs as Israel steps up attacks on Hezbollah. At least 6 killed and 91 injured as 6 buildings completely destroyed in the attacks. Reports claim Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah was the target of the Israeli Air Force strike on Beirut. Sources close to the group say Nasrallah is fine. Israeli army says its fighter jets killed Mohammed Ali Ismail, the commander of Hezbollah's missile unit in southern Lebanon. His deputy and other Hezbollah commanders also killed in the attack. Donald Trump says he will seek prosecution of Google if he wins the November 5th elections. Accuses Google of showing only bad stories about him and good for Kamala Harris. Bangladesh chief advisor to the interim government, Mohammed Yunus, promises to bring about free, fair elections in his address to the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Hurricane Helene leaves trail of destruction across Florida and the southeastern U.S., killing at least 44 people, tearing apart homes as rescue crew launched missions to save people from floodwaters. Our top focus on World DNA. Residents in Beirut faced multiple explosions as Israel struck the southern suburbs of the Lebanese capital. The Israeli military says it targeted Hezbollah's central headquarters, continuing attempts to degrade and dismantle Hezbollah's capabilities. Well, hours later, there has been no word from the group on the fate of their chief, Hassan Nasrallah. Here's a report.
Thick clouds of smoke rose over Beirut on Friday following an Israeli airstrike that shook the Lebanese capital. It was by far the most powerful attack carried out by Israel in the city during nearly a year of conflict with Hezbollah. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric emphasized the global body's concern over the attack during a press briefing.
We are watching the developments unfold in Beirut with great alarm.
An Israeli source was cited in the news outlet Axios as saying Hezbollah leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah was the target of the strike. A source close to Hezbollah told Reuters that Nasrallah was alive, while Iran's Tasnim news agency also reported he was safe. Iran-backed Hezbollah's Al-Manar television reported that 4 buildings were destroyed and there were many casualties in the multiple strikes. Rescue crews could be seen on site here pulling 2 children who are alive from the rubble. The Israeli military said it had carried out a, quote, precise strike on Hezbollah's headquarters. Israel has struck Beirut's southern suburbs 4 times over the last week, killing at least 3 senior Hezbollah military commanders and more than 700 people in the country. In a televised statement, Israeli military spokesperson Daniel Hagari said the Central Command Center was embedded deep within civilian areas.
I didn't intend to come here this year.
The strikes hit Beirut shortly after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to continue Israel's attacks on Iranian-backed fighters in Lebanon in a closely watched United Nations speech, as hopes faded for a ceasefire that could head off an all-out regional war.
The United States was not involved in this operation, and we had no advanced warning.
Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh told reporters Friday that while the U.S. was not told in advance about the Beirut strike, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin did speak with his Israeli counterpart as the operation was ongoing. Singh declined to say what Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant told Austin about the operation and whether it indeed targeted Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. The Pentagon also declined to speculate on whether the Hezbollah leader was still alive.
Amid speculation over Nasrallah's fate, diplomatic efforts to pacify tensions continued at United Nations Security Council meeting, wherein UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urgently called for an immediate ceasefire, warning that the war in Lebanon could lead to further escalation involving outside powers. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov voiced concerns at the UNSC meeting as well. He said the escalating conflict between Lebanon's Hezbollah group and Israel is on the brink of a full-blown war. Even as Russia continues its offensive in Ukraine, Lavrov said that the attacks, whose casualties are civilians, are categorically unacceptable. And well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Colonel David B. Roches from Washington, D.C. He's a West Asia analyst and an associate professor at the Near East South Asia Center for Security Studies. Welcome to World DNA, Colonel Roches. Now, this is the most lethal attack carried out by Israel on Lebanon's Hezbollah group. 6 people have been killed. Iran has said that the strike will act as a game changer in the ongoing war. First up, your assessment of what does this latest strike by Israel on Hezbollah mean for the escalating tensions in West Asia?
Well, it's pretty clear that Israel feels that it has the moment to eliminate Hezbollah, or at least to kneecap Hezbollah's ability to project power in Israel for at least a decade or so. We're still not certain if Nasrallah has himself been killed. If he has, then that will be a major victory for Israel. If he has not, that will, have go some ways towards helping the organization reconstitute itself, but it still remains in peril. There are also reports that a group of Iranian Revolutionary Guard advisors and directors to Hezbollah were killed as well. It appears as though Hezbollah has lost almost all of its senior command, much of its arsenal of long-range missiles and rockets, and its ability to communicate. So Hezbollah is definitely on the back foot, and I think Israel is pressing for an advantage in order to basically resettle northern Israel with evacuated families.
Right, Colonel Roches, like you mentioned, that there is still no certainty about Nasrallah's fate yet. Now, Netanyahu, during his UNGA meeting, said that every missile, there's missile in every kitchen and rocket in every garage in Lebanon, perhaps indicating that Israel will continue attacking Lebanon. What kind of retaliation can we expect from Hezbollah, especially if Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah is killed in the latest Beirut strike?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So I don't believe that there's a rocket in every kitchen or house, but there's certainly many rockets are in kitchens and houses. And unfortunately for Israel, that generates a bad image whenever they attack this capability. It appears, though, that they have been conducting rather calculated campaign directed at the Hezbollah's warehouses and stockpiles and launching sites. And it appears so far that Hezbollah's response is ineffective. I think that would indicate that they don't have the ability to effectively respond. The $50,000 question is, how much of Hezbollah's missile and rocket inventory has in fact been destroyed, or is some of it just in reserve and will be launched later on? And we don't know that with certainty.
Colonel Rocha, just minutes before the Beirut strike, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the UNJ said that his country wanted peace, but perhaps it had no choice but to fight Hezbollah. He, however, did not make any mention of the ceasefire deal in Lebanon or Gaza. Talk to us about how that signals Israel's ties with the US and how perhaps US does not have any influence over Israel.
Well, we have less influence than most people think. There's a misconception. We also heard this about the Saudi and Emirati forces while they were fighting the Houthis in Yemen. There's a misconception that somewhere in Washington there's a switch, and if that's flicked, the Saudi Air Force or the Israeli Air Force just falls from the sky instantly. But it's clear that there's a couple things. First off, Hezbollah is an enemy of the United States. It's considered a terrorist group by the United States as well as by Israel. And many other Western countries. So, there's not a general disagreement about attacking Hezbollah. The disagreement is over the conduct of military forces and the standards of proportionality, how much civilian suffering is inflicted in the course of attacking Hezbollah. The other problem is President Biden, the Biden administration itself, is at a very, very low point in terms of influence. I mean, President Biden generally is not a very active president, even in the best of times, and these are not the best of times. He has stepped down and given up his campaign to his vice president, who is not known for her foreign policy acumen. And as a lame duck president, he's viewed as somebody who has, really doesn't have to be taken as seriously as he would have been, say, if he were still campaigning for president. So, Israel is doing what it has done, which is to pursue its national security interests as it sees them, not as the United States sees them.
Right. Thank you, Colonel Rochus, for joining us on World DNA with your insights.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Well, from one war front to another, as war in Ukraine intensifies, US President Joe Biden finds himself navigating a precarious diplomatic landscape. Our next story explains how the latest meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky highlights the complex interplay between supporting an ally and averting a full-blown nuclear crisis. Take a look.
A new day and a new fire to fight. Russia is sharpening its attack on Ukraine. It is relentlessly raining down missiles and drones. The southern Ukrainian town of Izmail is the latest to feel the fury of Russian assault. The city of Kramatorsk in Ukraine's Donetsk region has been hit repeatedly by Russian missiles, leaving behind death and destruction. Ukraine's neighbors too are feeling the heat. Romania scrambled F-16 jets, F-18 jets after Russian drones targeted Ukrainian civilian infrastructure close to the border. As Ukrainian forces struggle to hold back Russian advances in the east, the need for stronger retaliatory capabilities grows more urgent by the day. Amidst this grim backdrop, Zelensky's visit to Washington carries a singular mission: securing permission to employ long-range ATACMS missiles against Russian targets. These 300-kilometer range weapons, Ukrainians argue, could disrupt enemy supply lines and provide much-needed relief from border bombardments.
We have to strengthen Ukraine's position on the battlefield. And that's why today I'm proud to announce a new $2.4 billion package of security assistance. I've also directed the Pentagon to allocate all the remaining security assistance funding that has been appropriated to Ukraine, period, by the end of my term, which is January 20.
I raised with President Biden the plan of victory. Today we are preparing to discuss the details to strengthen the plan, coordinate our positions, views and approaches. Our teams will work together to ensure the implementation of our future steps.
Despite announcing new military aid and air defense capabilities, Biden stopped short of greenlighting the long-range strikes. This decision, while frustrating for Kyiv, reflects a careful calculus to maintain support without crossing Moscow's nuclear red line. As the conflict evolves, the Biden administration treads a fine line between bolstering Ukraine's defense and preventing a catastrophic escalation. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And while shifting our focus to the race to power in the US, former US President and Republican presidential contestant Donald Trump has said he will seek the prosecution of Google if he wins the November 5th polls. He claimed that the company displays bad stories about him. Trump, in his post on Truth Social, gave no evidence for his assertion about Google. He wrote, "It has been assessed that Google has illegally used a system of only revealing and displaying bad stories about him, some made up for this very purpose. On the other hand, only revealing good stories about US Vice President Kamala Harris." Trump called it an illegal activity and hoped that the Justice Department will criminally prosecute it. If not, he said, he will request their prosecution when he wins the elections and become the President of the United States of America. Furthermore, during a campaign stop in Michigan on Friday, Trump launched a scathing attack on Harris on the issue of immigration. He said, "There is blood on her hands," as he pointed to a purported data about criminals entering the U.S. illegally.
And blood is on her hands at a level that probably nobody's ever seen in this country before. But on November 5th, Kamala Harris will be held accountable for these crimes. She will be sent back to California. And we will close the border. We will stop the invasion. We will begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
In the Michigan rally, Donald Trump also said that Tesla CEO Elon Musk will serve as his administration's cost cutter if he wins back the White House.
By the way, Elon Musk gave his total endorsement. Elon, he gave me the greatest, beautiful, most beautiful. He said, we're not going to have a country left if Trump doesn't get in. And you know what I'm going to let Elon do? Unless you people disagree, I'm going to get Elon, and he's great at this. He's going to be our cost cutter. I think he can save trillions, right?
Earlier in September, Trump said he would establish a government efficiency commission headed by Musk if he wins the polls in November. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris visited the US-Mexico border for the first time in her 2024 campaign on Friday. Harris chatted with the local border patrol leaders about securing the area as they walked along the wall built during Obama's presidency. Well, immigration and border security, these are the two top issues in Arizona, which is the only battleground state that borders Mexico and one that contended with a record influx of asylum seekers last year. Moving on, the US Justice Department charged 3 members of Iran's IRGC of hacking Trump's presidential campaign and also trying to disrupt the upcoming November 5th US elections. According to US Attorney General Merrick Garland, the 3 defendants were said to have conspired with others to carry out a year-long wide-ranging hacking operations on behalf of the IRGC. The indictment represents the White House's most recent attempt to thwart foreign influence to meddle in the upcoming elections. As per the indictment, the three men launched a wide-ranging campaign in 2020 targeting journalists, campaign workers and government officials in the US in an effort to rather stoke discord and undermine trust in the country's democratic system. The charges include, number one, computer fraud, identity threat and wire fraud. Well, currently, all the three men are living in Iran. In a separate statement, the Treasury Department said it was imposing sanctions on 7 individuals, including Masood Jalili, who was among the 3 charged over efforts to interfere in the upcoming US elections. In August, the Trump campaign said that they were hacked by Iran and also mentioned that the perpetrators were unable to gather private information. Various news organizations said that they declined to publish internal campaign documents which was offered to them. Now on to the women's draw. Well, former champion Naomi Osaka is through to the 3rd round in Beijing. The 4-time Grand Slam winner defeated Kazakhstan's Yulia Putintseva in 3 sets. Osaka, who is now working under Serena Williams' former coach, struggled in the opening set. 21st seed Putintseva looked the sharper player through the first set and broke Osaka twice to win it 6-3. Osaka committed 19 unforced errors but quickly reset in the second set to level the match at 1-all. In the decider, the former winner opened up a 3-0 lead on a way to a 3-6, 6-4, 6-2 win in an hour and 46 minutes. The victory also extends her winning streak at the China Open to 8 matches. Second seed Jessica Pegula is also through to the 3rd round with a straight sets victory over French woman Diane Parry. The US Open finalist hit the ground running from the word go and bagged the first set 6-1. However, in the second set, Parry pushed Pegula all the way. As the set reached the tie break, Pegula reeled off the last 5 points of the match from 4-2 down to win it 6-1, 7-6. And in a major shock at the WTA 1000 event, world number 8 and US Open semi-finalist Emma Navarro was knocked out in the second round by home favorite Zhang Shuai. The 35-year-old Chinese star, who broke her 24-match winning streak in the first round, won over 80% of her first serve points to take the first set 6-4. The former world number 22 continued her dominance in the second set to win the competition 6-4, 6-2 in an hour and 15 minutes. The 35-year-old will greet Menin of Belgium for a place in the last 16. Well, the Teletubbies are back, but instead of television screens, the multicolor quartet is spreading their message of joy and inclusivity through a traveling international art project. The first stop on the tour is London, where a Soho gallery has been transformed into a celebration of Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala and Po.
Great. So this weekend in London, we're kicking off the House of Teletubbies World Tour Art Takeover. The Teletubbies have been on a world tour for the past year. They're continuing this campaign into 2025, focused on themes of art, music, and belonging and inclusivity. This weekend in London, we brought together a collective of 13 artists from around the globe, ranging from different mediums from canvas to photography to sculpture, and even some decommissioned riot spray-painted gear.
The 4 characters have served as muses for 13 acclaimed and emerging artists from around the globe working across diverse mediums.
Their joy. They are just all about chaos and wonder, discovery. They fall down, they get messy, and it's okay. They dust themselves off, they get back up and try again. It's all about inclusivity and belonging. Everyone is welcome into the world of Teletubbies. Differences are embraced and celebrated, and it's really all about rediscovering your inner childhood as an adult. When you're a child, it's all about that very first friend. They speak directly to the child, engage them into their world.
Teletubbies, a British children's television show, first hit screens on March 31st, 1997, beaming into sets from their fictional home, Teletubby Land. Well, according to reports, the content has been broadcast in more than 190 countries over the years and translated into many languages. And nearly 3 decades on, their popularity has not waned.
We took even the Teletubbies, you see the differences in their eye colors?
Well, with that, we call it a wrap. Thanks very much for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.